In the best of all situations, helping an older relative or parent plan for long-term care and other end-of-life issues happens when they're healthy, and various options can be considered with adequate time to do so. Unfortunately, events can sometimes intervene and an elderly person's need for assistance can quickly become an emergency. This possibility of unexpected need is why it's so important for adult children and younger relatives to gather up the courage and preparation to begin a series of important conversations when elderly loved ones are healthy. Once stricken, older relatives may be unable to understand your questions or express their wishes in proper detail. If there is no plan, family members grasp at responsibilities or shirk them without any idea of what the older relative would really want. These talks actually should go far beyond money. There should be discussions about independence and basic preferences for the way individuals want to live or die. Demographers believe that with the rising number of single Americans that are divorced or never married, these conversations will become increasingly complicated as they fall to nieces and nephews and younger friends or designated representatives. If you want to avoid a worst-case scenario, start the conversation now. Here are some ideas. Number one, start with the most important priorities. Maybe this first conversation isn't just about where the will or healthcare power of attorney is, though you'll eventually have to get to that. Maybe this conversation is about you noticing that a parent or loved one is moving slower, is more forgetful, or clearly looking like their health has taken a turn for the worse, and maybe that's why you want to know where the will is. Jumping into money issues first is usually a mistake. Consider dealing with immediate health and lifestyle issues first. Number two, prepare your questions in advance. When a parent or relative is unconscious or unresponsive, the younger relative is immediately in the driver's seat. That's why it's critical to make a list of questions for the elderly relative to answer in detail while they have the capacity to address them. You'll need some basic information: where the important papers are, how household expenses are paid, who the doctors and specialists are, what medicines are being taken, and whether there's a will, an advance directive, and a funeral plan. If there is a funeral plan, what money or burial insurance is designated to pay for it? There may be dozens more questions beyond these based on your family's personal circumstances. But in creating this list, ask yourself, what do I need to know if my family member suddenly becomes sick or dies? Number three, turn the conversation to affording long-term care. One of the greatest continuing fallacies about long-term care is that Medicare pays for it. Medicare pays for a significant amount of medical care associated with long-term care, but not for the actual cost of home-based or nursing home-based care. Private room nursing home care costs can run in the $50,000 to $70,000 a year range, and if it is a consideration, long-term care insurance is something that should be purchased in one's 50s for the best chance at affordability, and the conversation needs to be a mixture of preferences and finances. If an elderly person cannot afford top quality care, families need to plan alternatives, especially if it means pitching in. Number four, be patient. In some families, having a successful financial discussion means several attempts and some frustration. Try not to become angry or frustrated if this happens. Just keep starting the conversation until it catches on. It might make some sense to say something like, "Mom, you've always been so independent. I just want you to give us the right instructions so we do exactly what you want." Number five, offer to get some qualified advice. If you don't fully understand your relative's financial affairs, it might make sense for you both to talk to an attorney, tax professional, a financial advisor, or some combination of all three. A qualified advisor can help you straighten out whatever confusion exists, can help you put specific legal documents in place, and can help set up ways to pay medical and household bills if your loved one becomes unable to do so. If you can, involve your priest, preacher, or church elder in that conversation. An impartial third party can sometimes move things along. Above all, an aging relative should have, at a minimum, a current will, a durable power of attorney, and a healthcare power of attorney documents in place. And either creating or reviewing those documents can be a good starting point for making sure other necessary plans are in place. Number six, plan a caregiving strategy together. You should discuss your relative's preferences and trigger points for various stages of health care. Most people will almost always want to stay in his or her home, and you should have an honest discussion about how much you can do at home as a caregiver and whether various services, home health aides, geriatric care managers, assisted living, so on, should be introduced at various stages. Talking through what a parent will be able to live with at various health stages and putting that information in writing will save plenty of doubt and bitterness later on. Number 7, discuss what should happen with the home. If an elderly relative becomes sick and irreversibly incapacitated, the equity in his or her home may come under consideration as a resource to pay for uncovered medical bills or household maintenance. And since the home is both a major asset and an emotional focal point, it's best to get good advice and spell out specifically what the elderly relative wants done with their property and under what conditions. Number 8, make sure everyone knows the plan. Once you settle on a strategy, make sure all family and friends understand the plans and their assignments. It can take a lot of time, emotional energy, and a lot of love to have these important healthcare conversations. It may be a challenge to make the conversations happen, but if you can do it while your loved ones are still healthy, it will make so much easier for you and other members of your family if and when the time comes for dealing with long-term care issues. Join us again soon for another installment of The Financial Briefing.